Hey there, my name's Ryan Kingslien. I'm the founder of ZBrush Workshops, and I want to walk you through a very specific process. So first I have to tell you that what we're going to be talking about today really revolves around anatomy and how you sculpt anatomy. So what I want you to do is I want you to head over to ZBrush Workshops, and I want you to scroll down on that page and check out Eric Wilson's anatomy class, because registration is open as I am recording this. And this is what we're really talking about. So, what is anatomy? And you can see here on this figure, I have some indications of anatomy and I have some form already suggested in here. But there is a stage of anatomy that people don't talk a lot about because it doesn't involve a lot of verbal language, right? But that's my job. My job is to go in there and help you understand where things are important, why they're important, and how they're important, and start to put words to this stuff that as visual artists we just kind of do, or we learn through our struggles. But what you're seeing right now is you're seeing me kind of chew through the anatomy. I have gone through the initial block in. I have established the rib cage. I've established some of the elements of the rib cage, the 8th rib. Now, in order for me to take it to the next level, I have to go through and chew through the anatomy. And I want to talk real specifically about what that means, because it's really important. So I'm going to pause this and just draw on the screen here for a second, because you saw that initially there was this really simple shape for the rib cage, right? You saw that there was this real simple barrel with a little indicator of, as I said, the 8th rib. But now what I've got to do to be able to take this to the next level is I've got to be able to come in here and say start to find the xiphoid process. And then I've got to separate the xiphoid process from the actual rib cage. And then I've got to separate the xiphoid process and the rib cage from the abdominal muscle. And then how the abdominal muscle is going to behave as this rib compresses in there. And is that abdominal muscle on the flat? And then where does it kind of cave in and become more concave or more convex or whatever it is, right? Because it's at this point that you go in there and you really dive into the individual parts of each one of these muscles. This is the next stage in anatomy. This is why I want you to head over to ZBrush Workshops and sign up for Eric Wilson's class, because this is what it's all about. You can learn the basics of anatomy. You can learn about the rib cage. You can learn about proportions and the simple 8-head character. You can learn all these elements online. But what is incredibly difficult, consistently difficult, is going in here and taking it from this more simplistic knowledge and chewing through the anatomy, separating the girdle of the shoulder, for example, the shoulder girdle from the rib cage, from the serratus anterior and the lat, and then from the external oblique, and then from the abdomen, and then from the deltoid, and then from the pectoralis, right? We're chewing through the anatomy, and that's a process where you go from large forms, rib cage, shoulder girdle, and then you start to change your language, and you start to go shoulder girdle to pectoralis, deltoid, clavicle. That's the shoulder girdle. And then you go from that language to the, let's say the clavicular portion of the pectoralis. And then you might go to the sternal portion of the pectoralis. And then you might come in and try to find the manubrium for the sternum, and you separate the sternum into 2 different parts or 3 different parts: the manubrium, the knife blade, the xiphoid process. And then you start to go in and you start to find the ribs that are here showing up in the upper part of the pectoral girdle, right? And then you start to find the portion of the rib which is coming from the 7th rib, or portion of the pectoralis is coming from the 7th rib, a little bit of the 6th rib, not really the 8th rib. And you chew through this. And who knows what's right or wrong? You got to have a model in. Everybody's body changes things. But I'm doing this part from my imagination, from just a real simple understanding of, the general parts and how they operate. Let's chew through this a little bit more. And I want you to notice as this moves around the back, notice that what I start to change. Notice that what I really am doing here is I'm starting to separate things, even though it doesn't really look like it. I have separated the infraspinata and one part of the infraspinata from another part of the infraspinata, and I have separated out the 9th rib from the external oblique. And here's my 8th rib coming down and around, and here's a suggestion of my 7th. So I've separated all of these guys. I'm separating the sacrum, and I'm making the sacrum its own holy space. And then I'm over here, and I'm going to begin to separate the gluteus medius, and I'm going to separate that from the gluteus maximus, and I'll separate that from the tensor fascia latae over here, right? All of these parts. But as I go through this, I separate the ribs from each other, and then I have to learn about these little things like this triangle back here, where there's not really a lot of external oblique, there's not really the infraspinatus, and there's really just this abdominal wall sheathing that comes through there. But really also, very importantly, I got to learn about things like how the external oblique twists. Where is it? Notice that there's a directionality happening here as the external oblique moves from one direction into another. These are the things that are really important about anatomy and going in there and getting them. And see, look at how now we've got this little bit of a bump, and you'll see me go in a bit and just change that. This is what we're doing. It's that little tiny bit where we chew through the anatomy and we get this to just look a little bit more dynamic, right? So here I am putting in the spine of the scapula. There I am putting in the spine of the scapula. You can see me here doing a couple of different things. You'll see me here come in and start to put the serratus, the lat. There's a couple of different things you'll see me kind of do and separate that from the ribs. And then try to figure out what this armpit's going to look like. But really taking the basic forms and breaking them up into smaller and smaller basic forms. Here we're going to go in and we're going to do the gluteus medius. And when we do these smaller and smaller forms, we have to start to learn about how these forms operate and some of the very specific shape characteristics of them. Just like there is a rib cage that is a general oval shape, each one of these things like ribs, each one of these things like the trapezius, they all develop their own specific shape characteristics that are going to be very important for us to go in and figure out. And you can see me right in here going through and starting to create this drop down that the acromion process has coming into the spine of the scapula. There's this little drop down in the plane, and then you see me come in here and get this scapular portion of the deltoid. There's the acromial portion of the deltoid, and then you'll see me kind of come in. I think it's right over here actually. And then we'll do the infraspinatus, the scapular muscle bulge. Then we're going to do the teres major, and then we're going to come in with the lat, and then of course we've got to go in and figure out how does the tricep connect and move. And over time we learn these shape characteristics, and our job is to go in there and keep deep diving into it, constantly deep dive into it with models, things of that nature, and develop our understanding of how the large forms break down into smaller forms. So there is a box for the scapula. Within that box, there is a portion of the deltoid. There is a portion of the scapular muscle, the infraspinatus, if I remember correctly. There is a portion of the teres major. On some models, you might see a teres minor. And then there is, of course, the trapezius coming in over the top of it. But it all starts with this block. This is something my teacher Al Gurri told me a lot, and I loved it. It was so amazing to see him do that. He would do this and not talk about it because he wasn't consciously aware that he was doing it. It's just he picked it up, right? And then he would go in and he would start to divide the muscles and help us understand it from there. And I just thought it was just a beautiful way to do things. But when you learn from people, they're sometimes not even aware that this is what they're doing. So I want you, again, go to ZBrush Workshops. Register for this class with Eric Wilson, because this is what you do. You go through and you chew through the anatomy. You do things like what I did right there, which is I know that there is a major form of the external oblique that's reaching back that allows this form to twist, right? And I'm looking from the midline of the ilium back towards the 9th rib. Not straight up, back. And especially when I've got this twist intact, right? And so I'm trying to find the high point, and the high point is here, and then everything else has to kowtow to that line. And so there I've got the external oblique along with a couple of the fingers of it, and then you can see here the gluteus medius, and then you can see here starting the tensor fascia latae, and then you can see things here. So if anatomy is something important, if you want to be doing figurative work, character work, anything like that, I want you to get over and take this class, because there is no other way to learn this than to chew through the anatomy, and you got to have a guide, because how are you going to know that there is this angle? I learned it from somebody. Eric learned it from somebody. And now we're here to share that with you. So let's zoom through a bit more of this, and let's speed this up a little bit. This is a ZBrush History Undo movie. But you know, the butt is a great example. And also here, look at this. You're going to see something. I'm going to pause this for a second, because you're going to see me do something with the rake brush. This is a special rake brush I built. I put the rake brush inside of ZBrush a long time ago, and now I've got one that's kind of updated. So here we go in, and we're separating the hamstring, which is going to be the bicep femoris. Okay, we're separating the vastus lateralis. You can see we've already separated the rectus femoris, and then we're separating the vastus medialis. And now you'll see me come in and chew through this a little bit and separate the edge of the patella, and then I'm going to come in and get some of the tendon lines and some of the characteristics, and you'll see me pull in a line between the tibia, or what they call the tibial tuberosity, and then this little muscle that comes right here on our shin. You'll see me chew through that here in just a second, starting to delineate things. But this is a great way to go in. You just draw these and establish curvatures and simple shapes, but dynamic, where you've got all these interlocking parts. So they're not simple like that's just a sphere. It's simple like here is this simple curvature. Simple curvature or plane. You can see me delineating things and outlining, and then I go through and I start to model the form a little bit. But first I've got to go through and start to delineate and separate all of these elements into smaller and smaller and smaller elements. Then I go through and I build each one of these elements very specific forms. So this is the work that we've done, and I want to go back here one bit. I'm going to go back and talk about this butt, and then we're going to call it a day, and you are going to go over to ZBrush Workshops and sign up for it. But check this out, okay? Check out how this form evolves. See, now we got that gluteus medius. Now look at the gluteus maximus and how this form kind of comes in, and you'll see lots of shape comparisons or ways of defining it. But one of the ways in which the gluteus medius is described, gluteus maximus is described, is as though it is a bit of a tire. Let's just cap that, right? And so here you go. You just have this little bit of this tire shape right in there, and that's a form concept. And you'll see I come in here and I'm going to establish the shape here as well, where we just want to remember that the gluteus maximus, it has this inner volume. Another way that we look at this is we look at it and we say, okay, hey, the gluteus medius is the shelf. It's offset outwards. The gluteus maximus is offset inwards, right? And then there's fat pads and things like that that offset it out here. But this is the anatomy I want you to learn. This is what's important about anatomy. So let's put it over here. Leave it right at this picture, because this is what I want you to do, is be chewing through the anatomy, talking about the 7th rib, the 8th rib, talking about how it goes into the 9th rib, talking about how the external oblique and its specific directionality operates, and not necessarily where its insertions and origins are, but where its directionality is. Because insertion and origin you can get from the anatomy books, but directionality you get from the model and from your teacher or your mentor. That's where you're going to get all of that. What is the shape of that 8th rib? So many amazing things to study. So make sure you sign up to this class with Eric Wilson. You head over to ZBrush Workshops. I will talk to you later. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned something, and all the best with your work.